Yemete for Nina Kwaba Song Coin over daily update so Hana Bawumia training news at Ecoso Ghana Menina. Yes, so say any DD can buy any dino book coin so. Obe subscribe by my Senebea. News be a be copy upon your phone or your notification. Is never be to appreciate news Ecoso Ghana enya. Now, friends, so what can be a about comment section or in bit my deep friends so bit share. I'm more down for so when you be a share and I only as any be a share. Yes, I'm young and something. Kwesi Pratt can see me an old name, but not say. Trɪbal politics na Electoral Ghana no. Enye papa na a bit my lead to war. Na war no bitimi lead to say ye kunkum ye ho and name. Chaos pan be sing Ghana enye easy. Na Ghana Lôộming in serious danger pa. Let me say Ghana for nye ho ye. And no Kwesi Pratt and Kesi. These people are very stupid. They are very fools. Their foolishness, no, ain't been compared. Their foolishness is unbearable. Like, oh, Trɪbal police near Kosna. You share history, Kaka. And your monkwan and my nodness. Nimpo, now not any net so. And Zakran, a more company tiano, like a kind of bonny fan, or ma mutimiku yini fewer. Mutimi ebidis. More day tomorrow say, not any president. And I'm a hammer no edini. You know, Kwesi Pratt was to see. And same piano, same calling Kutino.
So, tell me how, if you elect a Gadangbe, access to social services would automatically be enhanced. I mean, you know, when we sit on these platforms, we ought to restrain ourselves, okay? We ought to use language that they say is temperate and so on. So most of the times, that is my difficulty. Because in the end, you tend to use language that does not really describe the situation. So we are always struggling. Those of us who have been doing this over the years are always struggling to find the appropriate words to describe some behavior. Today, unfortunately, the behavior I'm seeing, the behavior that all of us as Ghanaians are seeing, cannot be described with any other word apart from foolishness. Extreme foolishness. I'm a Northerner, so vote for me. I'm a Southerner, so vote for me. I come from Ashanti, so vote for me. It's extreme foolishness. Look, there's no doubt that there are extremely brilliant Northerners who understand the state of Ghana today and who may have solutions to the problems that confront us today. And they are Northerners, no problem. But it is also true that there are Northerners who are complete idiots. If I lie, tell me. There are Ashantis who are broad-minded, who have the commitment to contribute to building Ghana and so on, who may understand the problems of this country, who have a clear commitment to fighting in order to resolve the problems. But are there no idiots in Ashanti? There are Fantis who may be brilliant and so on. Are there no charlatans and vagabonds who are Fantis? So this whole argument about I'm an Ashanti, I'm a Northerner and so on, it simply doesn't make sense. It is reducible to extreme foolishness. And if it was just foolishness, we may excuse it. But it is foolishness which has the tendency of dividing our country on lines that eventually will become detrimental to our collective effort to move forward in the 21st century? That's my worry. Because some people, reckless people, there are some people who are egoistic and so on, some people who think that they are better than all of us, and therefore we should crown them as our kings and queens, are engaged in this extreme stupidity. One day, innocent people are going to pick up weapons as happened in other places and fight against themselves and kill themselves and cause mayhem and so on. That is what ethnic divisions lead to. You've seen it in Rwanda. You've seen it in other places. For years, Osagefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah did everything possible to unite this country, and he succeeded. Within the last few years, there are some who have burst onto the stage and they are determined to wreck the achievements of Kwame Nkrumah. We must stop them. We must stop them. Because what they're doing is extremely dangerous. I lived in the Nkrumah period. And one of the things I cannot forget is that anybody, for as long as you were Ghanaian, could contest elections in any constituency in Ghana. Where you hailed from was not important. The language you spoke was not important. So you could actually come from Agbabroshi and contest elections in Tamale Central. There was no law which banned any Ghanaian or prevented any Ghanaian from contesting elections anywhere in our country. We have to get back to those glorious days in which attempts were made to forge national unity. I lived also in the period of General Achampo. And indeed, in those days, the people of the Eastern region, were so happy with Colonel Minyila from the north as their regional commissioner, regional minister. He didn't come from there. Up till today, the record of Minyila in the Eastern region is unbelievable. He didn't come from there. Colonel Akwei Norte, again, became the Northern Regional Minister. And up to today, the people of the North are still praising Colonel Akwei Norte for what he did. Major Dawuni became the Central Regional Minister. Up till today, the people of the Central Region swear by his name. What has happened to us all of a sudden? What has happened to Ghana all of a sudden? Why have we pushed charlatans, complete charlatans, into places of influence and authority who are poisoning our country? Look, if this extreme stupidity was just limited to ethnicity and regionalism and so on, bad as it is, maybe, just maybe, we could overlook it. But now, religion is being added into the cocktail. Most frightening. And you see, those who are doing this, they don't even seem to know the Ghanaian people. Because if they knew the Ghanaian people, they would temper their stupidity. They would temper their stupidity a bit. My brother, listen to me carefully. I'm not going back. Just from 1992, the National Democratic Congress presented a presidential ticket which was led by Mr. Rawlings with Aka as his running mate. Both of them were Southerners. Both of them were Christians, and they won the election. This is 1992.
By a very wide magnitude.
This is 1992. Okay? Why? We went into another election. John Dramani Mahama and Kwesi Emisa Atta. Both of them were Christians. They won the elections. Newz Mahama, same. They won the elections as well. So, these people who are waking up today and doing all these permutations, where were they? Master, let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back to 1951. Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah came from a small minority ethnic group. He actually came from Nkrofo, small village in the western region. He decided not to contest elections in the western region, not in the central region, not in any other region, but in Greater Accra, the heartland of the Ga people. Accra Central, Odododio. Who was his opponent? Obeche Bilamte. He beat him to rust. Beat him, quarter, beat him to rust. This is our history. This is the proud history of Ghana. This is the history which shows that Ghanaian people have matured, have risen above ethnicity and so on. Why are we being taken back? You know, I've heard all kinds of statements. And some of the people who are making these statements, they can be forgiven because they don't know our history. Okay. One of the reasons which MPP appears to be suffering from an ethnic tag has nothing to do with the selection of their presidential candidate. It has everything to do with the fatwa which was issued by Bafo Akoto, which became the foundation of the National Liberation Movement. It was Bafo Akoto in those days who issued a fatwa that all Ashantis in all other political parties should come to Kumasi and become the foundation of the NLM. That's where the problem started. So in the end, R.R. Amponsa, who became the chairman of the Council of Elders, resigned from the CPP in order to go and become a foundation member of the NLM. Victor Owusu, who became presidential candidate of the People's Popular Party, staunch CPP member, left the CPP on account of the fatwa issued by Bafo Akoto. And indeed, if you look at those who are making comments about the history of the political parties and so on, sometimes I sit back and laugh. There are people who have claimed that the New Patriotic Party is the true inheritor of the United Convention Party, UGCC and so on. It is not true. The real foundation of today's MPP is the Convention People's Party. It's a breakaway faction of the Convention People's Party. Check the historical record. Check. By the time they were forming the NLM, there was no UGCC. UGCC had collapsed. No UGCC at all. Okay? So if you check the list of the foundation members of the NLM, they all came from the CPP. The vast majority of them came from the CPP. Making the NLM an ethnic contraption which was taken out of the Convention People's Party. This is the true history. Check the history. So today, all kinds of ignorant people who have not taken time to learn from our history and so on, they make all kinds of claims. Okay? That is the worry. That is one of the things, not the only, one of the things which has created this impression that the NPP is battling with. Now, what is the other thing that has compelled the NPP to try to show that it is not an account party? Today, if you look at our electoral pattern, you would find that over a long period of time, the voter region has always voted in a particular way. It is not NDC. Check the records. The voter region overwhelmingly voted for CPP.
It was no case. Inflation na ekwas organa menina achese anotin. You share dollar crump first na $4 to $1. They say no, almost 13 cedis to $1. $1 bill. Na you share the ekwas na what na o case ye me not need to tomami. If you Muslim to tomami. You see kwasi at the say no communion ya dia. You kwa kujina asori platform kwa kase obi a wanje Yesu Kristo ni se oye na nkwa no se Muslim for no omi antichrist ni ade nsem be na Bawumia our Ghana had your person the as all the people the kind MPP prime minister no mo kwa no krampo no na se super delegate no mo kwa no krampo no sika o tiaye eni nyama be ka o ye nyini nyachi ni nyama mo kwa wanti mo kwa crops 70% of the vote. That means MPP for Nankasa air reject no. We need some Kwesi Pratt Ekikapa no the bam so se kama ho nkuti SMP waba bonte
Behind Dr. Bawumia. Now, at a certain point, there was no doubt at all that persons who were holding government appointments, that persons who were in the executive seats in the party, including regional chairman and so on, preferred Dr. Bawumia as their candidate. Now, it's important to find out why he became the preferred candidate. For some who vigorously campaigned for him, it was a question of continuity. They wanted those who had implemented the vision of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to carry on. You understand? There's an element of continuity. That's interesting. I'll come to that later. Then there were those who actually supported him because he's a Northerner. And the reason they gave was simply that the time had come for the new patriotic party to demonstrate that it can accommodate other persons from other regions other than Akan regions. That was interesting. And that position was interesting because our history is clear that Ghanaian voters have not been against Northerners. We elected Dr. Hila Liman as president of this republic. We elected John Mahama as president of this republic. There have been Northerners on various tickets which have won elections, one of them being Aliu Mahama and so on. So Ghanaians as a people have never rejected Northerners. And we don't have a problem of electing a Northerner in order to make the point that Northerners are part of Ghana and have a stake in Ghana. So for those who wanted to elect him because he's a Northerner, I think that they were concerned about their party, not Ghana. Their concern was for their party to demonstrate that it can be accommodating of Northerners. That's very significant. Okay? Now, it is also very, very interesting that those who made this argument, who pushed for Bawumia's election because he's a Northerner, are the very same people, including Dr. Bawumia himself, who did everything possible to remove Enotna from the position of president. You cannot overlook that. When Dr. Bawumia was going around the country campaigning that the incompetent one should be removed from power, he was not campaigning against a Westerner or Easterner or Centraler or whatever. He was campaigning against a Northerner. And that for me ought to be significant. Now, what are elections about? The elections we are conducting. We are electing presidential candidates of parties who are going to go into an election to compete to become president of Ghana. That whole process, what is the end game? What is it about? I'm convinced that that process is about selecting a team which would which would take over first the resources of this country and manage those resources for the purpose of solving the concrete problems that Ghanaians face. And we are told that one of the major problems we face now, I don't agree fully. We can go into that. But we are told that one of the major problems we face now is inflation. That is one of the problems we are told. We are told that another huge problem we face is generally unemployment, but more pronounced youth unemployment. We are told that we face a crisis of lack of access to social services. Okay? We are told that we have not yet developed the national infrastructure which is able to harness the power of women, the productive power of women, and so on, in order to improve our economy. We are told that this country is facing a problem of indebtedness. There's a huge debt overhang, and so on. And there are many more problems. Okay? The transport sector is in a complete mess. Complete mess. Last week, I saw a video of a state transport bus plying our roads. And this state transport bus has two drivers. One of them is sitting behind the wheels, and the other is using a stick and walking in front of the bus, measuring the depth of potholes and directing the driver as to where to pass. That's the state of our road infrastructure. One of the best roads that we've ever had since independence is the Akroma motorway. Only last night, I was speaking to a friend who was going to go to Tema. And he drives a Mercedes saloon. And he was thinking about going to Tema in an Uber. I said, my brother, what's the problem? He said, well, I don't have a spare tire. And given the greatest on the motorway, it is likely that I'll have a puncture. And if I have a puncture, I have to park the car in the middle of the
na megye di sɛ Samri wanya adwenkyɛ kakra pɛ sɛ ɔkyerɛ wɔ adwen de fa ɛyɛ Kwesi Pratt nsɛnsɛm na ɔka de fa ɛyɛ meyɛ dɔden ntetoma me meyɛ denden ntetoma me no sɛ tribal politics ɛkɔ so no ahwɛ bi lead to ɛyɛ ethnic war na ebitimi ama ɛyɛ temamufo no krampo me innocent no krampo no etimi atwete sɛ kan konkonkon wa mo je sɛ enya ade ɛyɛ papa enti ubetimi so akyɛ wa adwen ɛwɔ ɛyɛ comment section wɔ emi bitimi agye pase bakinkan na afei so ubetimi so ahyɛ ma adamfo so nya bi ahwɛ sɛ on subscribe so ani din obo kwan so ubetimi subscribe ama it will be biase.